Starting a conversation with our child about returning to the church may be awkward and even scary, but is it worth it? Is heaven worth it? St. Monica died in peace, knowing that her son St. Augustine had come back to the church and would soon see her again. In prayer, Augustine received this consolation. If you only knew the gift of God and what heaven is, if only you could contemplate for one moment the beauty that I see, why do you, who saw me and love me, think you will not see me again and love me again? Believe me, when death breaks your chains, as it has mine, when on the day chosen by God, your soul reaches heaven, where I have preceded you, then you will see her who loved you and still loves you. Salvation is the name of the game. St. Paul reminded Timothy in the second reading, compete well for the faith. Lay hold of eternal life to which you were called. Make a noble confession in the presence of many witnesses. Therefore, after we have prayed, fasted, offered our sufferings, and planted seeds, we must begin the conversation. Start by speaking about anything but the faith. At an opportune time, ask your child, "Can I ask you something?" Then acknowledge that they have mixed emotions about the faith, and if they can explain where they are currently at. This is where we just listen, so as to appear agreeable and learn their feelings and reason for leaving. We can even ask follow-up questions such as, what role did the faith play in your life, if any? How do you handle difficult moments in life? What brings you happiness? Would you be interested in learning more about God, Jesus, the Bible, or Catholicism? What does your prayer life look like? Is Jesus someone you would like to develop a deeper friendship with? Or more generic questions like, what do you feel about blank? How do you think? Why do you think that's true? How did you come to believe that? What do you mean by blank? To keep the conversation rolling, first be humble, for we are fellow sinners. Second, watch your body language. Don't roll your eyes, shake your head, sigh, nor raise your voice. Third, express empathy for where they are at. Fourth, narrate back to them what you heard. Fifth, share your feelings by saying, I feel, etc. Lastly, pause the conversation if needed, and return to it later. The author Brandon Voigt also recommends trying shoe pebble questions that they must mull over in their mind, such as, what is the best argument for God's existence, and why is it wrong? Or, what is the best reason to be Catholic, and why don't you agree with it? Also utilize the popularity of Pope Francis as a conversation starter, or share your own story of how the faith brings you peace and joy. Invite them now to go deeper by attending a retreat, a parish social event, an ongoing education class, or Catholic campus ministry. Finally, we have to close the deal by making a commitment. Invite them to pray with you, that Jesus comes into their heart, or that God will take them one step closer. Jesus always invited a potential disciple. He'd say, "Follow me." Then connect them with a priest for further dialogue and confession. Specific objections that your child may have are all listed in that book, Return, How to Draw Your Child Back to the Church. But I will briefly touch upon 5 of them. First, same-sex attraction. It is not sinful in itself. Venerable Archbishop Fulton Sheen said, "We are not tempted because we are evil. We are tempted because we are human." That said, acting on the temptation of a homosexual act is wrong, because it is closed to life. This is difficult when we know people with such inclinations, but familiarity doesn't make actions right. We may have an alcoholic friend who is tempted to drink, but when they decide to drink, it is still wrong. Not everything that brings us pleasure is good for us. Rather, the Church urges chastity for all states in life, single, celibate, and married. Chastity means to live according to your state. Married persons practice an exclusive love. while single and celibate persons forge healthy friendships. Cohabitation. Trial runs at marriage may be popular and justified for financial reasons, but they are still harmful. True love should lead to a commitment, not convenience. Cohabitation is not an impediment to marriage in the church, though, but I always urge couples to live like brother and sister until after the marriage. Besides the sin of fornication, a danger of living together is carrying an attitude into married life that we can walk away from all this when the going gets tough. Divorce. This is painful, and the church wants to support you. Divorced persons are not excommunicated, nor are they barred from the sacraments. If, however, you are currently remarried or considering it, please consult a priest about an annulment. Annulments are about healing the past, and this process is faster and free in our diocese. Annulments review whether a marriage should have happened because of pre-existing conditions, such as addictions, immaturity, or not being open to permanency, fidelity in life. The Church wants to convalidate or bless your second marriage with the full grace of the sacrament. No proof for God. God is immaterial and eternal, thus invisible and outside of time, so one cannot hope to observe nor measure God. We do, however, see proofs in the sense that the universe comes into existence, but doesn't explain its own existence. In other words, it didn't have to happen. And since it did, out of cause and effect, what was the first cause? God, answered St. Thomas Aquinas. And what about the Big Bang Theory? Well, that came from a Catholic priest and scientist named Father Georges Lemaitre. Mass is boring and Catholic guilt. As a former hockey player, football used to be boring for me because I wasn't familiar with the rules. Mass is boring when we don't understand it, nor the biblical history behind it. That guilt might be also our conscience nudging us back to God. G.K. Chesterton said, Catholicism is not the source of guilt, it is the answer to it, in reference to confession. The rules in the church guide us to joy and fullness of life. If we don't fence in a playground near a busy street, the children are either overly cautious and don't utilize the entire area to play, or worse yet, they run out into the street. We have far more to lose by not talking to our child than to gain by avoiding the awkwardness. For St. James said, My brothers, if anyone among you should stray from the truth, and someone bring him back, he should know that whoever brings back a sinner from the error of his ways will save his soul from death, and will cover a multitude of sins.